Second round of the playoffs. Here we go. RamView.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, one time.
Live from the RamCave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the January 15th, 2025 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair, having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at Temple City Auto Repair.com. And of course, by Outsiders Christian Camps, where I will be in Arroyo Grande this weekend, struggling to find an outlook, but Outsiders Christian Camps, sponsored by Burbank Faith Virtual. If you have any questions, check them out, as they are a great support to us here at RamView. All right, I'm excited to be here. Excited just by everyone that clicks on. Thank you so much for your support. I'm going to say it now. If you haven't checked us out on Spotify, get the audio version of this podcast. Please do. On Spotify, it's called From the RamCave. If you haven't hit like or subscribe, please do, as we build into the off season. We take very little time off. Maybe the shows might not go 50 minutes or close to an hour in the off season. But boy, I tell you, as it builds, there is always something to talk about. You know, you break down the position groups per show, you start talking draft. We're going to talk a little mock draft today. You start talking free agency, salary cap. And so a lot of other podcasts, this is where I was always starving before I kind of did RamView, before I caught a couple of other guys, is a lot of guys take a month off. I know there's one app out there, they do a good job. I'm not slamming them, but they say they go on every day and they don't. And you're just always wanting some content. And I don't want to listen to political stuff. And so I'm just trying to give you guys what you want, in the sense that we're going to be on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, even during the off season. Maybe the shows won't be as long, but we're going to be on, and we'll be talking a lot of course, NFL. And of course, you can catch me at midvalleysports.com, where I'm writing my column Fan View again, and also posting Ram notes, picking up tidbits that are shared or maybe not shared here. You can find them there at midvalleysports.com. All right. Thanks, guys, for clicking on. It's great to have you. So looking at the picks by the experts, I know Bill from Pennsylvania there had clicked on a little bit early while I was getting things set up. And he mentioned the experts. That's exactly what I was leading with, is that most of the experts rolling in looks like they want Philly. Yeah. And so not want Philly, but they're choosing Philly. However, on average, I averaged out most of these guys that were giving their predictions, and most of them have them by 6 points. Most are one touchdown or less, which I thought was kind of interesting. The only real outlier I saw had Philly winning by 9. And, you know, you come out of that game where the Rams got smoked. It was a thank you, sir. May I have another game against the Eagles about a month ago. You go back to that game, and you wouldn't predict a one-score game, a one-possession game, a one-touchdown game. But I believe everyone has kind of done a little bit of homework. They saw that Ram performance on Monday night, and they're a little hesitant, right? And then that poor performance, that absolutely stinker of a performance by the Eagles. And if the Packers had been a little healthier, maybe a little more experienced, they would have beat Philly in Philly. And then, right? And then the sky would fall, because that place is a madhouse there in Philly. It's always on the precipice, right? What did Bonnie Tyler sing? We're sitting on a powder keg, giving off sparks. That's Philly, right? They can explode all the way to the championship, or they can explode and melt down this week against the Rams, and that's what we're kind of hoping for. Possibility of snow on Sunday with an expected temperature of about 34 degrees. That's not real bad. But as with the displacement of the fires, which I felt was a narrative that was being worked in by the KBM all weekend that was the excuse for the Rams not to, if the Rams lose, it's a built-in excuse. I don't think it's an acceptable excuse for the Rams this week. I don't care if it's snow or cold weather. Philly runs the ball, the Rams run the ball. Matthew Stafford spent the better part of his career playing in the NFC North. Now, he had cozy confines playing there at Ford Field, but he still had to go on the road to Green Bay and Chicago every year, let alone the other places he played. Also, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp played in cold climates in college. Havenstein is from Wisconsin. Alaric Jackson's from Iowa. So we've got guys here that they know what cold weather is. So I don't think it should be an excuse. In fact, I like our chances better with Matthew Stafford. This isn't, if it's Jared Goff playing outside, I'm a little nervous. If it's the other Ram quarterbacks I've seen in my life watching the Rams, I'm a little bit nervous. I mean, imagine we went into cold weather games with Pat Hayden at quarterback, and we had convinced ourselves we had a shot, right? With Matthew Stafford, we know we have a shot. Real quick look here, and I'll get to the questions, guys, as they pile up. The Eagles' injury report is looking clean. The speculation as of today is that Higbee will be ready to go even after spitting up blood on Monday night. That one's kind of whoa. I didn't mention it on Monday, but I had noticed, and I just wasn't sure what it was, about Bobby Brown had only played 13 snaps against the Vikings, and he suffered a shoulder injury, and he was on the injury report. One thing we didn't know about, because he played the whole game, was Alaric Jackson has a chest injury. These are things that, when they finish the game, I'm not worried about them missing this coming week. The one that did have some concern because he's playing out of his mind right now is Ahkello Witherspoon. And he has what is being described as a thigh injury on the report. But you saw him Monday night. It looked like he was kind of holding his hammy. And that one has me a bit concerned. Also, let's go back to Ahkello Witherspoon, right? I think even Steeler fan Rob said this last year when the Rams signed him, is everyone kind of likes him. He just can't stay healthy. And we noticed it. Witherspoon gave the Rams a really good year last year. But the second half of the season wasn't like the first half of the season. And we also noticed this year that no one signed him. So he didn't log a lot of snaps early on. So we're still getting that fresh Ahkello Witherspoon. He was terrific on Monday night with him, Darius Williams, Kobe Durant. There's some depth there that we can feel comfortable with. And so we're hoping he's healthy. Not on the report was Byron Young. And that was kind of cool. Because we're trying to figure out what's he running to the locker room for during the course of the game. We were commenting here in the RamCave that Young probably had a growler and just needed to take care of business and stuff. But he came back and he's not listed on the report now. So that's good news for the Rams. I do have some thoughts here about the game real quick that I want to get to, but I want to get to your guys' questions. Hey, a lot of you guys posted questions on the supplemental show I did yesterday. And forgive me, Paul Richardson out there, some of you other guys. I usually try to answer those questions, and I didn't get a chance to, and I'll go back and I'll give you guys responses because I do appreciate every time you guys click. Let's see. Bill, it was amazing how all the talk was about Darnold and not about the Rams' great performance. I think because the Vikings were 14-3, and yeah, there were times I'm sitting here with Dwayne Barker from Mid-Valley Sports. He's one of the founders there. And I'm sitting there. The Rams are up 27-9. I want it to be 47-9. I predicted 41-27 Rams. I wanted more scoring. But there were moments there. Didn't you feel it when you're watching Darnold? It's like I sound myself yelling, going, Sam, get rid of the ball. Get rid of the ball, Sam. And Rams did their work. They got those sacks, but Darnold kind of a few times there, it's like, bro, cough it up, man. Make the throw it away, take off out of the pocket and run. And he just didn't do it. I think that was just a shocker. But let's face it. Again, we weren't the only ones talking about it. Going into that game, didn't we like the Rams front seven a whole lot better than we liked the Vikings offensive line? I think we all did. Bill, I don't think Jalen is right in the head right now. They ran him a lot, Bill. Didn't they run him a lot? You're kind of wondering, what are you doing with your quarterback running him a lot? You got Saquon Barkley. You got a pretty good Gainwell, the backup guy for him. I'm not running Jalen Hurts. And that's it for me right there. Defensively, I'm going to make sure Jalen Hurts beats me. You know, they've got some advantages there. We saw what A.J. Brown, how he just out physicaled, outmatches Darius Williams. It looked like Larry Johnson posting up Muggsy Bogues to throw some names back in the day. Darius Williams was trying to guard A.J. Brown in that game. But I'm going to make Jalen Hurts beat me. I'm not going to let Saquon Barkley beat me. Tim Burns rejected. Micah Gutierrez. The Rams fans in Glendale were amped up. I bet there's a lot of Ram fans in Glendale, in Arizona, right? I bet there are. All right. Good for you, Micah. Out there spreading the gospel of Ramdom. Hey, you need to read my book, Game Day in the RamCave. I got a whole guy there that preaches Ramology to everybody. You'd be the pretty good ambassador of Ramology. USA expat. Noteboom need not return. Hey, he's insurance right now, but yeah, I think his days are numbered in the horns. Tim Burns, notice Jefferson was really mentioned last game, rarely mentioned last game, a turning point for the secondary. You know, that was 2 games in a row. That Thursday night win by the Rams, Jefferson got catches early, but I think he only had one catch in the second half. The Rams have done a number. They did a number on Justin Jefferson this year. And Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison had a great game. I think it has been a turning point for the secondary. So the safeties are better. Look at the level Cam Curl and Cam Kitchens are playing at next to Quentin Lake. I mean, and then you add the kind of rookie depth. He's more of a a heavy safety, Jalen McCullough, who can come down into the box. And then you got JJ back. And so there's some depth there on this Rams defense right now. It's kind of exciting. Let's see here. Bill, it's like the media think we are not going to make the adjustments for our bad performance against Barkley. That's one of the things you could always count on, right? McVay is going to make adjustments. We saw Chris Shula make adjustments. I do think a little bit by making those one-score predictions, Bill, that they were factoring some of that in. I do. USA expat, very cold weather could affect field goals. Could. It really could. So let's score touchdowns, right? And let's have somebody yell at a ref, because I still have question about the Bo Limmer late hit personal foul. I want to know, was a whistle blown? Because I don't think a whistle was blown. That play was continuing when he leveled that dude out. I think Bo Limmer got flagged because it looked bad and they didn't know what else to do. I've seen this before in all sorts of sports, down to high school sports. You throw a flag because it looks bad. I've seen it at church league basketball. A guy's just a big dude. He's athletic. He takes his 2 steps, goes up, and the ref calls traveling because it just didn't look right at that level. And I think someone needs to complain there. Bill, Winnington must get touches this week. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. I got a theory here. I'm going to throw something at you guys in a minute. I don't know if you're going to like it. Steve Ramirez, as Joe Cap said, you don't get used to cold weather. You just realize it's going to be cold, but you have a job to do. Bingo. There you go. Steve Ramirez. Remember did you guys ever see the Sports Illustrated? Was it a Sports Illustrated cover? I don't think it was Sport Magazine. What did it say about Joe Cap? One tough Chicano or something like that? Yeah, you got to love Joe Cap. Micah Gutierrez, I was very impressed with the tight ends on Monday. I think all 3 of them will be pivotal on Sunday. Absolutely. Absolutely, because I don't know if Stafford's going to have time to go downfield. Bill, I think Forbes is going to get a chance to play this week if Witherspoon can't. You would think he would have to be next up in the rotation, right? You'd think he'd have to be. Tim Burns, Cardi spent his career kicking field goals in Washington and Oregon. Dude is fine in wet weather and snow. Washington State, Oregon State, etc. Yeah, from your lips to the football god's ears, Mr. Burns. Bill, wouldn't it be fun if Aaron Donald show up on the Rams sideline? Hey, he should show up all he needs to do. That's all I want to see. Anytime. SM, Witherspoon is playing according to Jake Ellenbogen. Oh, cool. Jake's pretty good on his stuff. You know, one thing about Jake Ellenbogen, people take shots at him, but he works hard. He just does. He works really hard, and he's pretty solid. And until you hear different, at least for me, from my end, I don't got inside scoop. Until you see that report go in a different direction on Witherspoon, I would assume he's going to play. Tim Burns, Hurts takes longer than anyone to release the ball. Averse and Co. has to finish against that offensive line, right? That's the part that's scary. That's not the line. That's not the Vikings offensive line. Manuel Correa, what is up? Thank you for clicking on, Emmanuel. Geez nuts. A lot of guys on the defense had a heck of a game. But, man, I like the way Lake played. He was all over the field and starting to look like the leader of the secondary we need. He is the leader of the secondary, absolutely. And I don't know if you were with us on Tuesday or saw Tuesday's supplemental show I did. He's creating the problem. He's the one that's going to be the guy that if anyone breaks the narrative of the Rams not giving that second contract to a safety, it'll be Quentin Lake. And I remember us being really sad at the end of 2020 because we didn't want to lose JJ. Rams were in a bit more of cap hell then. But we got another year with Quentin Lake, and then his market is going to be pretty amazing. Let's see. SM, Nakobe Dean's injury isn't being talked about enough. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not being talked about enough. They just got a lot of bodies there. But, yeah, you're absolutely right, SM. Tim Burns, Alaric didn't look good in my opinion, but a win is a win. It's like the O-line is doing a bend but don't break like defense. Would you say this, Mr. Burns? Would you say the Rams offensive line played better than the Vikings offensive line? Because if you looked at the PFF grading, actually, the Vikings offensive line looked better, according to them, than the Rams offensive line did. Figure that one out, right? SM, Brandon Graham feasted on Warren McClendon. Graham is out for the season, and McClendon is back on the bench. There you go. I just don't like – well, I'm going to tell you guys in a second here. I'm going to read a couple more questions, and I promise I'll come back to this. Let's see. Tim Burns, our coach is better than your coach, and Philly fans booed Santa. We win this game. Philly fans would boo Abraham Lincoln, right? I mean, I'm going to throw that back at you. Philly fans would boo Abraham Lincoln. They would boo anybody. Brandon Hallam. Thank you, Brandon, for joining us. I don't think we've had you before. Please hit like, subscribe. Thank you for throwing in a question. Crazy fact, AFC South has more wins this postseason than the NFC North. Oh, my goodness. Vikings lost, Packers lost. AFC. Oh, yeah, and Houston Texans. There you go. That's interesting. That is interesting. Tim Burns, Jameis Juju, Rams 30, Philly 24. Okay, I'm going to come right back to your question there, SM, but I wanted to throw this one out to you guys real fast. And this is just another thought on the Rams. This is not a slight on the kid, a sixth-round pick who has been amazing as a rookie. But going into this Sunday, my biggest fear, doubt, concern is Bo Limmer matching up against Jalen Carter and Milton Williams. Those guys have had outstanding years. Thankfully, Brandon Graham is out, but they're the interior guys. And Jackson, Havenstein, Avila, Dotson, they're going to have problems of their own. But if I'm Vic Fangio, that's the spot I'm going to hit. That's the spot where you can see the Rams could be vulnerable, maybe just lack of experience. And that's the part I'm worried about in this Ram game. And to add to that, the rookie seasons for Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean have been off the charts, right? For rookies, right? You know, they are having a season. And then a veteran like Darius Slay, who can be vulnerable, but he's had a real rebound type season. He's had a really good year. They're not going to be afraid of the Ram receivers. That doesn't mean the Ram receivers can't sting them, but they're not afraid of the Ram receivers. And so they're going to match up with those guys. And if that pressure is coming up the middle on Stafford, he's not going to have the time because those receivers are going to be blanketed, at least in the initial parts of their routes. This is where the tight ends, I think it was Bill, not sure it was you, Bill, or somebody else, just brought up. The tight ends, quick releases are going to be important. Nakobe Dean not playing will be important. But that's the part that's got me worried right now. Right now, I'm going to give final predictions on Friday in a different environment. I won't be in the RamCave. I'll be working a winter camp up in Arroyo Grande. and stuff. But right now, that's the part that's got me troubled for the Rams. And so I'm leaning Philly right now. So I wanted to get that out there to you guys real quick so you can tear me up. SM, this is a different team with and without Havenstein. Yeah, I agree, right? It seems like the whole line just kind of teeters and totters. Havenstein's the spiritual leader of that of that unit. Absolutely. G's nuts. Still not buying that Kupp is struggling with separation. He had Gilmore beat on that one catch, and if Stafford would have hit him deeper, that would have been a 6 for sure. I don't know. I that's probably the most. That's like right up there with the Bermuda Triangle, Bigfoot, and everything else. The Loch Ness Monster. No one quite knows what's up with Cooper Kupp. He's not on any injury report. It's not an issue of attitude where Stafford just says, "I don't like this guy. I'm not throwing him the ball." I don't know. I just get the feeling, and maybe I'm wrong, G's nuts. I just get the feeling somewhere he's just not healthy enough. I don't know. I do not know. Tim Burns, keep Dickerson away. Okay, keep Dickerson away. Tribe, thank you for clicking on Tribe. Was Nakobe Dean one of their better linebackers? Seems like a fairly big loss. He was having a year. And so, yeah, I think it does hurt them. It really does. Tim Burns, Ella Bogan, drops 1 a.m. videos, but he is no Joe T. He didn't write Tangent Dreams. Right. Scoreboard. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Burns. I respect Jake Ellabogan. I do. I don't know him. I haven't had any interaction with him. If there's 100 guys talking Rams football, I'm going to say 3/4 of them, they don't do the work. That dude does the work and stuff. But I appreciate you, Mr. Burns. And speaking of Tangent Dreams, feel free, right? I don't have a Patreon account. We don't have a paywall. Besides Kistler Law, my books are what help keep me employed in my day job because I pastor a small church in Burbank Faith Nazarene, as well as right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual, burbankfaithvirtual.com. So I've got 3 football books out there. 2 of them are high school football. This is the first one. It was well received. My most recent one came out this season, Game Day in the RamCave, fictional NFC Championship game. It's a fiction work, NFC Championship game against the Packers. And it's really written with the fans in mind. So you can check that out. Thank you, Mr. Burns. Bill, I'm praying for a special team touchdown will make the difference in the game. Isn't it funny? A great punter, a solid rookie season with a kicker, and a guy who's competent returning punts changes the whole narrative on what we feel about our special teams. Last year, didn't we want to just run Chase Blackburn out of town, right? And now we feel really confident about our special teams. Yeah. Micah Gutierrez, let's not forget, were it not for 2 Kyron Williams fumbles, we would have been much more. He did fumble against Philly. That's right. He did. Tim Burns, PFF doesn't use their eyes. I love stats, but it's starting to get away from what our eyes tell us. Absolutely. Just don't surrender. It's a great place to start. When I was working for Mid-Valley Sports in the early days, covering a lot of high school football, I'm a big proponent on history. How long has this been going on? When did these teams start playing? And it's hard to dig out information. It's just hard. In fact, when we got new writers and I'd get to go speak at schools and someone would want to write for us, I would tell them, I said, it's very small. You might not think it's a big deal, but you're recording history when you write the outcome of a Thursday night game and high school game. And it's important. So what I would do is I'd go back and I'd start with the yearbooks. So I'd go into a school, Monrovia, San Dimas, El Monte, and they'd stack all their old yearbooks and they'd have the scores from their varsity football games most of the time. Now, were those things 100%? No. But what we did was that's the place we started. And then we would work from there to find out, okay, let's get some clarification here. And that's PFF right now. PFF has become yearbook football in the sense that, man, dude, you got some stats there, you got some interesting things, but man, our eyes aren't matching up with what you're telling us. Very good there, Mr. Burns. Micah Gutierrez, competitive against Philly last time. 10:55, it was a 2014 game. Philly scored their next touchdown at the 6-minute mark. So, yeah, and then everything fell apart after that. Let's see. Michael Negretti, Pastor Joe, missed your 9 a.m. stream yesterday. Let's go Rams. Hey, no problem. I'm missing that. That was just something I felt like I was bursting at the seams. I had to get it out to talk about that game on Monday night. No worries. You go back and check it out anytime, Chief. Let's see. Jalen Carter. This is SM. Jalen Carter is a problem. And now that you mentioned that matchup, I'm concerned as well. I'm sorry, man. I don't want to take anyone's sleep. But and I love Bo Limmer. I really do. I just hope he can channel. He's wearing number 50. I hope he can channel some Ken Iman, right? Get some Ken Iman in there and just do a solid job. But that's the part that scares me. Tim Burns, with them running often, we almost have to slow it down and avoid three and outs. Can't afford those Barkley-led drives at the start or we'll tire out. They didn't play well against the Packers. If that offensive line plays against the Rams the way they played against the beat-up Packers, they're going to struggle. I get the feeling they're going to sew their stuff up and get things back on track. And then they're Philadelphia. There's always going to be something weird there, right? But we're healthy. Hope Bobby Brown's good, but we're healthy. And did you see how Byron Young, watching the edge, right? Early on, he was making those early second-year guy mistakes, but as time went on, he got better holding the edge. Verse has been a beast. Hoyt is this utility guy along the front seven. There's enough here to make us believe, guys. There's enough here to make us believe. Mr. Wright. Sorry, Mr. Wright. Okay. Michael Negretti. Sean McVay needs to use all the offensive weapons, even the kitchen sink. Use Tutu, Whittington, and Robinson. Whatever it takes, right? Our time with Tutu, I think, is running out, but I hope so. Rohit Verma, thank you for joining us, Rohit. Looks like a snow game. I heard there's a 50%, 55, 60% chance of snow. But if it snows on us, it snows on them. And we can load the box, and sooner or later you just got to man up, right? You nut it up and you just say, we're going to knock heads, and you can't beat us through the air. Maybe we can't beat you through the air. It's just a grinded out game. Their offensive line is a great offensive line, but I felt like they took last week off. I don't think they were great. And again, more experience. We're going to see, what adjustments they made. Whoever said it, I'm sorry, guys, if I blew that, forgot who said it, is that there are going to be adjustments. Chris Shula. We talked about exotic blitzes and doing different things. Did you see Durant and Witherspoon got sacks? He is really doing a great job, and I think the Rams are going to be better prepared in this game. Micah Gutierrez, I think the snow will mess up with both offensive lines. This game will feel like the Thursday night Niners game. Hey, if this game feels like the Thursday night Niners game, Rams are going to win. If this game's a 12-6, 12-9, 13-10 affair, Rams are going to win. We have the advantage at quarterback, no matter what the KBM might say, and we know we have the advantage at head coach, right? We know that. You saw Kevin O'Connell on Monday night. Kevin O'Connell is the hot ticket in the NFL. He's done a great job with the Vikings. He ain't no Sean McVay, and we saw that on Monday night. Let's see here. Bill, A.J. Brown reading on the sideline. How would you have handled that? As a head coach, again, Nick Sirianni does not run his sideline. That's the part that really bugs me, right? Either you lead this bunch or you end it right there, as William Holden once said. That bugged me. And even if, I'm the minister, even if A.J. Brown had pulled out a Bible, I would have said, bro, I want you looking at the tablet, right? I want you looking at the tablet, figuring out what we're going to do. I don't want you making jokes. That was a tight game. That was a tight game that a couple different things gone, Green Bay would have won. Now, maybe if AJ had pulled out Tangent Dreams or something, was doing this, I'd feel a little bit different. But that would fry me. But Nick Sirianni doesn't have control there. And that's the part, that's like the hidden kernel of hope there within this team, is that a forced fumble, a scoop and score, a special teams play, somewhere Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson don't do their job, Verse and Young feast a little bit, somehow the Rams, we've seen this happen before. Rams get up 17-3, right? We're going to see Philly panic because Sirianni does not run his sideline. And sooner or later, A.J. Brown's going to really be thumping his chest about not getting the rock, and there's going to be issues that come up. This team reminds me of the 78 Yankees. I know I'm dating myself here. 78 Yankees were so dysfunctional. They were a mess, but they pulled it together and won. I think Philly looks like the 78 Yankees. I think they look really dysfunctional, but I don't know if they can pull it together and win. Maybe I'm talking too much there, but that's what's going through my head there, Bill. Tim Burns, Philly as a hero, Rocky invented in LA. We win. Okay. Feeling strong now. It's going to fly now, right? Tim Burns, snow is the great equalizer. Absolutely. Micah Gutierrez, and I trust our special teams and weather games, especially Ethan Evans. Ethan Evans been amazing, right? Absolutely shares Johnny Hecker DNA from those Hecker early years. Let's see. Tim Burns, close game. Cardi wins it. Juju has spoken. All right, good. There you go. Manuel Vasquez, Philly Eagles will be missing 2 key players on defense. That's going to help. Without those starting linebackers, they can attack the middle of the field. Wouldn't the last thing you expect to happen in this game if somehow this ended up like a 34-31 game, right? It seems like it's happened all year. You look at it and you go, oh, yeah, this could be a high-scoring game, and it turns out it's 17-13. I think if they're not destroying the Rams' offensive line and Stafford has time, Rams are going to win. They're going to win. My fear is what I said. Jalen Carter, Milton Williams on Bo Limmer. Just Bo Limmer. That's the spot. That's the folder gap. That's the weak spot, right? That's the angle. That's where, that's the copse of trees, right? That's where they're going to focus their advance. So anyway. Okay, cool, guys. Thanks for the questions, guys. I really appreciate that. Around the NFL and other places, nothing new on the coach front. If I'm Dion, I am not going to go to the well, you never know. But why would you go to the Cowboys right now? They're a disaster. They are an absolute disaster. I would not go to the Cowboys at all right now. Yeah, stick it out in Colorado. Build something there. Cleveland Browns promote former Notre Dame quarterback and assistant coach and hot coaching prospect Tommy Rees to offensive coordinator. You hear his name everywhere. Houston Texans released wide receiver Deontay Johnson. They had picked him up after the Ravens released him. Think about this. In 1 calendar year, Deontay Johnson has been in Pittsburgh, Carolina, Baltimore, and Houston. He is a super talented receiver, and nobody wants him around. Take notice George Pickens, right? Take notice A.J. Brown. These receivers can be replaced real easy. Speaking of receivers, former Rams prospect Lance McCutcheon signed a futures contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, this is interesting. And I wanted to bring this up, is that how weird it must be for Lance McCutcheon. We've seen what he's capable of, but what is he not capable of? He probably lacks some discipline in route running. Lacks some just overall speed, lacks separation, lacks all those little things because physically, right? He's a Nelson Spruce Award winner for the Rams in the preseason. And you thought, could this guy make it in the NFL? In fact, I remember people saying, oh, well, we got to give Lance McCutcheon a shot. And he's bounced around all over the place since leaving the Rams. And he's just that tweener guy. It must be so frustrating. If you're who was the guy here that I'm looking at? I got a name up here on my board for cuts by the Rams. Sam Jones. I think Sam Jones was a receiver the Rams had brought in as an undrafted free agent going into 2023. And he caught that long pass that Stetson Bennett threw in the spring. And it was like, no, everyone's talking about Stetson Bennett, but Sam Jones was the guy. He got cut. His career is over, right? No one's talking about him. But Lance McCutcheon gets cut, and he's always on the cusp. He's always getting that futures contract. And it must be just so exasperating to be this close, right? To this close, right? Like Khalil Hodge, right? But Hodge has had moments in the NFL. and to not be able to get that full season on a roster. Anyway, I throw that out there. Monday, January 20th, Notre Dame, Ohio State. Lou Holtz fires a shot again at Ryan Day. Lou Holtz, man, getting feisty there because, Ryan Day took on Lou Holtz last year, took a cheap shot at him after he thinks Holtz took a cheap shot at Day. So rooting for Notre Dame. There you go. Speaking of college football, Quinn Ewers foregoed that $6 million NIL deal by whatever university it was. He declares for the NFL draft. He's got late second round, third round written all over him. I'm not a big Quinn Ewers guy. Carson Beck leaves Georgia, spurns the NFL draft, signs with the Miami Hurricanes. 4 rocks for the NIL deal, but I was reading something. The agency, think about this, he's in college, right? The agency representing him has stated that with other stuff, he could make up to 10 rocks next year. So why declare for the draft, right? And he goes to the Hurricanes. And again, let's just say, Carson Beck's not consistent enough for me. He plays another year with the Hurricanes. Maybe he has a good year. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe it's the end for him. Maybe the elbow or whatever got hurt is not going to work. And maybe he's just okay. He's still walking away with serious money and an education. Unbelievable, the world we live in now. I shared Rams 2025 opponents. Of course, Seahawks, 49ers, Cardinals, but also home games against the Saints, Buccaneers, Texans, Colts, Lions, and then road games against the Panthers, Falcons, Jaguars, Titans, Eagles, and Ravens. The away games are against the Saints, Buccaneers, Texans, Colts, Lions. The home games are against the Panthers, Falcons, Jaguars, Titans, Eagles, and Ravens. That's 9 opponents, counting the divisional rivals twice. That's 9 opponents the Rams are going to face next year that they're facing this year. Also, those away games, Saints are indoors. Tampa Bay always has good weather. Texans are indoors. Colts are indoors. Lions are indoors. Very doubtful the Rams will be playing in snow next year unless the Winter Warlock does something in Seattle. Pretty fascinating there. Okay, we talked about Rams draft picks, mock drafts. Rams have a first round, 2/3, a fourth, 3 6s, and a 7th, and they have a full complement of picks in 2026. Last week, CBS did a mock draft on January the 9th, and just letting that mock draft play out, we looked at it, had the Rams then at number 23, taking Georgia linebacker edge Jalen Walker, and we thought that was kind of interesting given the depth the Rams have right now. I definitely think if it's not a cornerback, the Rams are pivoting offense in this year's draft. The Pro Football Network today, with the Rams picking at number 26 now because of their playoff win, projected the Rams taking Virginia Tech cornerback Mansour Delane. He's 6'1", 187, 3-year starter. He has some technique issues, but he excels in both zone and press coverage. Last week, I ran a mock draft and had the Rams taking Trey Amos, cornerback out of Ole Miss. And today I ran that same mock draft again, and it had the Rams taking Armand Membo out of Missouri. He's a right tackle, 6'3", 314, full-time starter the last 2.5 years. However, he's exclusively a right tackle. And at 6'3", he kind of feels a little short. I think people forget Rob Havenstein is 6'8", and Alaric Jackson is 6'7". Just throwing that stuff out there real quick. Let's see if some more questions rolled in. Yes, they did. All right. Wow, a lot of them came in here. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see. Cooper DeJean scares me versus Puka. Tim Burns. Cooper DeJean's good. He's had a great rookie year. Bill, when was the last time we had a fake punt? I don't know. It's definitely back to the Bones Fossil days, right? I think so. Tim Burns, there has been an APB put out on Steeler fan Rob. Word is TJ escaped his basement and Rob has been seen circling Brahms in his pickup truck looking for him. That's very much an inside joke there, but that's funny. Yeah, Steeler fan Rob, these aren't good days for him. Michael Negretti, hey, Bo Limmer, smash the Eagles D-line. Use those Rams horns. Yeah, drink a lot of caffeine. KJ Brazil, thank you for joining us, KJ. I haven't seen you for a while. Thank you for clicking on. This Ram game this weekend reminds me of previous Ram games that had to playoff games against the Vikings that caused us so much heartache, and the Rams championship game against the 85 Bears, the great 85 Bears. What I'm thinking of, and I'll probably do a breakdown on Friday of it, was, the Rams, if in 1989, went on the road, won in the vet, beat them 21-7. Clyde Simmons was talking neck, and Rams went in there and took care of business, and then took care of business the following week against the Giants. Micah Gutierrez, the away games are Baltimore Eagles, etc. We play all that Birds teams on the road. I got it at home, but we'll check it out. Micah Gutierrez, meaning we will have a rematch of this playoff game in Philadelphia next season. All right, let's take a look at that. I think it's the reverse, but if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Solace, thank you for clicking on, Solace. You want to go cornerback in the draft. All right, I'm assuming that's what you mean, but thank you for clicking on. I hope you subscribe, Solace. Tim Burns, I saw a close-up of Roseboom after the tackle, and he looked like a demented Hacksaw Reynolds. I'm all in on this guy. It's in his eyes. He's going to continue to improve. How much, though? Are we seeing his ceiling now? I think it keeps the Rams from having to spend draft capital first and in the third round, and they could spend it in the fourth or fifth on another linebacker. But again, undrafted free agent, Omar Spates, undrafted free agent, right? Jake Hummel, undrafted free agent. Rams just don't spend a lot of capital there. Solace, we will also have free agency dollars. Yeah. And, it's funny, Rams haven't missed really much in drafts, but they've had some issues there in free agency, right? Something to keep an eye on. KJ Brazil, McVay has done so much as our head coach during his tenure. He has outlasted previous head coaches and can continue to strive as our head coach. Granted, he was only 30 when he was hired. Yeah, I have a gentleman I know that was working at UC Irvine when the Rams hired McVay, and he got to pass by McVay, saw McVay, and he wasn't saying anything negative. He says he's just a kid. He's just a kid, right? I made a joke in one of my columns back then for Mid-Valley Sports saying we were going to interview Sean McVay, but his mom couldn't get him out of school on time. He was so young, right? And boy, right on up the ladder. Stafford, McVay, Les Snead, Kroenke. This is Golden Age Rams football, guys. This is how I feel. Golden Age Rams football. Manuel Vasquez, cornerback and defensive line will be deep in the draft. What do you think if the Rams trade out of the first round and pick up an extra pick to cover both positions with quality players? Yeah, I think if the Rams end right here at the 26th spot, great. Let's just say the deeper they go to the back of the first round draft, I think the more likely you are to see that. Why not pick up more picks in the first 100? Kobe Turner was third round, 89, 91 overall. Byron Young was third round. Rams have an eye for spotting talent out of the first round. And so, yeah, I'm always for that. Pick up more picks, especially if you got a first round pick to give up and you can get another pick in the first 100. I think that always helps you. Micah Gutierrez, do you think the Rams will start looking for a long-term quarterback replacement to learn under Stafford in 2025? I don't know. I don't know. See, here's the thing. You look at Stafford, and there's nothing indicating that he should quit, right? Other than he's had his fill, right? What did Aaron Donald say? My cup is full. So physically, I hope he keeps playing. I hope he plays 2 more years with the Rams at least. Could the Rams draft a Quinn Ewers, right? Could they draft, I can't see Riley Leonard has a long-term solution. A lot of people are saying great things about Riley Leonard, but if Riley Leonard was there in the third round, I'd draft Riley Leonard, and say, thanks, Stets, for everything. Adios. I'm for bringing Jimmy G back. Right now, the Rams are in a Super Bowl window. And, we talked about this after last year. We said 24, 25, 26, mostly 25, 26. Rams are in a Super Bowl window. And I don't know. I think right now the Rams got to be thinking, let's get Stafford back. Let's keep Jimmy G as a backup. And we're going to be set in that quarterback room and go from there. Something great presents itself. I'm sure something could happen. But you did mention Manny Vasquez. You did mention Manny Vasquez. D-line. D-line is something to think about in the draft. Absolutely. KJ Brazil, some of the coaches that coached the Rams have not accomplished as much. McVay, the list is as follows, and it's a great list. Tommy Protho, George Allen, Chuck Knox, Ray Malavasi, Rich Brooks. I put McVay right there with McVay, and then Chuck Knox, George Allen. Your preference, right? George Allen's a huge culture change. Rams hadn't done anything for almost 9 years, 10 years. George Allen comes in 66. They go 8-6. And then they're in double-digit wins and in the playoffs in 67 and 69. They won 9 games in 70. He had problems with Dan Reeves. And I think they were pretty close to double-digit wins. They might have won double-digit wins in 68, but the configurations of the divisions didn't allow them to go to the playoffs. He's the one. George Allen is the one that said, what are we screwing around for? We got Roman Gabriel, right? What am I messing with Bill Munson for? And then, of course, Chuck Knox had that great run in the 70s. So I'm back and forth between Knox and Allen. I'm more of a George Allen guy. But McVay, in our lifetime, in the Super Bowl era, it's McVay. McVay is the greatest head coach in Ram history. KJ Brazil, also Dick Vermeil, Mike Martz, Steve Spagnuolo, Jeff Fisher. You know, there's talk about Spagnuolo interviewing in Las Vegas, man. Someone needs to tell Steve Spagnuolo his first best destiny is as a DC. His first best destiny as a DC. In fact, if the Chiefs pull off another Super Bowl and maybe another Super Bowl appearance, can you put a guy in the Hall of Fame as a defensive coordinator? I think you could, right? I think you could make an argument. This is a guy that with multiple changes on that defense kept that defense relevant and made them Super Bowl champions. I'd make that argument for Spagnuolo before I hired him as a head coach, though. Let's see. Rut Verma, how is the Rams D-line going to stop Saquon? Yeah, great. That's it, right? I think they have to stop Saquon. I don't think they got a choice. I think that's where the adjustments are going to be. You know, you have to pick your poison. I'm going to make Jalen Hurts beat me with the pass and just go after Saquon, right? Who's more lethal to you, right? Is it Jalen Hurts or Saquon? Saquon, right? Jalen Hurts has some holes in his game. I like Jalen Hurts, good leader. You see he gets better, stays in shape. But as a passer, he's got limitations. Let's see. Solace. If Stafford plays another year, I can see Snead trading a few high-end picks for win-now players. I think so. That's the window, right, Chief? Absolutely, Solace. It's the window. The window is now. And, it's who do you get? What do you got going on? You got to re-sign Alaric Jackson. You know, Havenstein's played well, but he's missed some games. So what are you going to do there? You should be set with Kevin Dotson and Avila. And then you got Limmer, who came out of nowhere, but you got Jonah Jackson signed for another couple years. I don't know if the Rams are going to work their way out of that deal or what's going to happen there. You got an issue along the defensive front. You need the toilet clogger. Bobby Brown's going to be a free agent. Tank Davis has played. Tyler Dick played well, but is he ready to be that, that 3-spin guy in the center of the defense? It wouldn't hurt to look at another corner. Akilla Witherspoon is pushing 30. Darius Williams is in his 30s. These are the last hurrahs for these guys. And also you've got Kobe Durant. He is in his 4th year next year, and he's going to be a free agent after that. So what are you doing with him? And so you take advantage. I don't think they did a rental on Emmanuel Forbes. I think he's going to be given every opportunity this offseason to develop into a starting player. And then, of course, you got THT coming back, and you got Darian Kendrick coming back. So it'll be interesting to see what moves do they make. I really think they need to look at wide receiver. I really do. We've talked about what's going on in that wide receiver room next year. And Puka Nacua is great. We love him. His style of play, it's not going to last long in the NFL. I just don't think it's going to last long. Let's see. Thank you for that question, Solace. Michael Negretti, trade out of the first round, pick up a second rounder and another third rounder. I'm down. I'm down, Negretti. They're saying this isn't a great first-round draft. Jim, NFL 7. Thank you for joining us, Jim, NFL 7. Thank you so much. Would be wild if it was a Commanders versus Rams NFC Championship game. The Taxkins and the Rams. I think it would shock the world, right? I think it would shock the world. And I'd like the Rams in that game. Grow on the Spike. Hey, tough game for you guys. Thank you for clicking on. Good game. Good luck. I'd love to hear what the thinking is up there in North Country, what the Norsemen are thinking in terms of is everything wiped out from week 17 back in terms of Sam Darnold? Week 17 back to week 1, Sam Darnold's going to keep this job, and maybe, they're going to franchise tag him. Week 18 in the first round of the playoffs, has that changed? I like Sam Darnold, but as I was sharing earlier in the show, I'm watching it with a friend from Mid-Valley Sports, and there was a moment there I'm going, Sam, throw the ball, get rid of the ball. And he just didn't get rid of the ball. Let me look at this real quick here. Since you brought that up, Jim NFL, Eagles Chiefs rematch to me would be really boring. That would be boring. Chiefs Bills would be a lot of fun. Chiefs Lions would be a whole bunch of fun, right? Bills Lions would be huge. That would be cool. Baltimore and the Rams would be interesting, because if it was the Rams in Baltimore, I think the Rams have a defense that could cause problems for Lamar Jackson. I do. What I think the NFL doesn't want to see, I don't think they want to see the Rams and the Houston Texans, or Washington and the Houston Texans. Now, it's the Super Bowl. Super Bowl's the Super Bowl, but I don't think they want to see that matchup there. If it's not the Rams in the NFC, I do want it to be the Lions. I do. And then I'll roll the dice. I'd love to see the Bills win, and I'm not going to be upset if the Chiefs win, because I love an evil empire. I love it when there's a dominant team. I really do. I think it's just great in the era of free agency and salary cap. I think it just speaks to Veach and Reed and what they do there in Kansas City. That it's attainable, right? That it's attainable with the right people. KJ Brazil. My keys to the game is stop Barkley, double team AJ Brown, and we will have to keep tabs on Goddard. Hey, Goddard's trouble, right? I agree. I don't think there will be a lot of passing in this game due to the weather conditions. Again, I think if it's weather, and I think if everything gets toned down because of weather, if it's 10-3, 10-7, 12-13-10, I think Rams have an advantage. We have the quarterback and we have the head coach. Grow on the Spike. No, this was a rebuild year. $860 million plus in dead cap money. 2025, J.J. McCarthy. Cool. That's interesting you say that, Grow on the Spike, because these were supposed to be rebuild years for the Rams. They were supposed to be. 2023 was supposed to be a rebuild year. Vegas said the Rams were going to win 4.5 games. They ended up making the playoffs. They kind of repeated the feat this year, and it was all, they were supposed to be rebuild years. And I do remember people talking, and even I didn't have much hope in the Vikings this year, talking like the Vikings were not going to be very good. In fact, a lot of people put them behind the Bears because the Bears have made so many changes. So that's a good way of thinking about that. It's great for bringing that up, Grow on the Spike. I think so. Stick with us, man. I love your insight as we go into the offseason. Michael Negretti, if it's the Rams versus the Taxkins or the Redskins, it's a home game for the Rams. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Grow on the Spike. Need linemen both sides of the ball. Yeah, Darisaw went down. O'Neill's got some mileage on him. Ingram got hurt. You're gonna need your center's okay. Is it Bradbury? I'm trying to remember your center's name. He's okay. He's not great. And you could probably use some stuff there. Grow on the Spike. Good luck. Thank you so much. KJ Brazil. The Rams are getting no respect because of the blowout loss to the Eagles at SoFi earlier this year. But if you can remember how they played against the Cards in the second game, so watch out. I agree with that. It's just that this Eagle team, even with Nakobe Dean and Brandon Graham out, they're a deeper team. They are a deeper, and you know what? I like Jalen Hurts better than Kyler Murray. Jalen Hurts is always going to do the smart thing. Jalen Hurts is the guy that consists. He's not a splash guy as much as Kyler Murray is. Kyler Murray will always be on ESPN getting highlights. Jalen Hurts is the guy that gets the job done, and they got a great offensive line. They have an absolutely outstanding offensive line. Okay, so Saturday, I'm not going to give scores yet. I'll give prediction scores on Friday. Texans at the Chiefs. I'm going Chiefs. Injured Texans, Robert Woods hip, Joe Mixon ankle, Shaq Mason knee, and Aziz Al-Shahir knee, linebacker. Injured Chiefs, McCole Hardman knee. That's about it. And their cornerback, Jalen Watson, who busted a fibula earlier this year in week 7, his window is open, and he's been practicing. So the Chiefs are going to get deeper. There you go. And then on Saturday, Taxkins at the Lions. Injured Taxkins, Jordan McGee, linebacker, Bobby Wagner, hanging on for another run, ankle, wide receiver Jamison Crowder, hamstring, defensive tackle Cleveland Farrell, caught a ride with the 49ers last year, catching a ride with the Taxkins, defensive tackle Darian Payne, finger, tight end Ben Sanat, and kicker Zane Gonzalez has a bad hit. Poor dude, you're watching him, and I thought OCD, and I guess it was confirmed today. Injured Lions. Right now, defensive tackle Pat O'Connor, calf, that's important. Cornerback Enos Rakestraw, hamstring. Guard Kevin Zeitler, hamstring. We saw him go out. They're starting right guard. Terry and Arnold foot, we saw him go out. And then running back David Montgomery, they mentioned that he has a banged up foot a little bit. He's just coming back from that MCL. Rams, Eagles, we talked about that. And then Ravens at Bills, that's the late game on Sunday. Zay Flowers, that's the big one for the Ravens right now. And then injured Bills, Ray Davis, backup running back, concussion, offensive lineman, Alec Anderson, calf. But in that game, I like the Bills over the Ravens. I like the Eagles right now. I'm leaning Eagles over the Rams. Don't hate me. Lions over the Taxkins. Chiefs over the Texans. So that's kind of where I'm at. Let's see what else we got here, guys. Let's see. Excuse me. KJ Brazil. I hope Kyron will be good to go because he is going to be key. Ronnie Rivers should get his share of the carries on Sunday. Yeah, that made me a little nervous when you saw Kyron spin and twist a little bit. They're going to need him, right? I like Ronnie Rivers, but old Ronnie ain't Kyron. And so that's going to be interesting. The Rams re-signed Royce Freeman last week on the practice squad. I'm wondering where he's going to be on Sunday. Let's see. SM McVay in playoff versus teams Rams faced in the regular season, 6-0. Ooh, that's a great pull, SM. Great pull. Man, I don't doubt you for a minute. That's a great pull. That's the kind of stuff that I pull out sometimes. That's great. Thank you for that. I'm going to use that probably in Ram notes or something that I post on Mid-Valley Sports. Thank you for sharing that. KJ Brazil. Also, Higbee is the dark house if he's ready to go. The dark horse. Yeah. Spitting up blood, right? And they say he's ready to play. I can add this a little bit along the lines of what SM put there, is that every time the Rams have gone to the Super Bowl, they've beaten the Vikings during the regular season or during the playoffs. They beat them in the regular season in 79, went to the Super Bowl. They beat them in the playoffs in 99. They didn't beat them in 2001 because the Vikings didn't even make the playoffs. They were a 5-win team. But they beat them in 2018 and 2021, and they beat them this year. So interesting. Doesn't say they're going to win the Super Bowl, but they can go to the Super Bowl. All right, I think we got this in here. We're almost at the hour mark. So
it was a stone groove, my man.
It was a stone groove. It really was. On this day, January 15th, 1991, the Rams hired Jeff Fisher as defensive coordinator. He was the Tommy Reese on the defensive side, the hot young guy. And he put in a scheme that allowed Kevin Green, the Hall of Famer Kevin Green, in 1990, 13 sacks, to get 3 sacks in 1991. Bingo. On January 15th, 2009, Jim Haslett was fired as interim HC. Rams ended up hiring Steve Spagnuolo. Born on this day in 1960, Ram inside linebacker Mark Giroux. I always had a positive feeling towards Mark Giroux. Unfortunately, on this day in 2005, Falcons beat the Rams 47-17 in the playoffs in the second round. Rams had won in Seattle the week before and then lost in Atlanta 47-17. That was the Michael Vick, Warwick Dunn, that squad there. Let's see, January 16th, not a whole lot there for tomorrow since we're not on the air. But John Arnett died in 2021. Jaguar John, USC legend, passed away at the age of 85. And of course, it is the anniversary of the 1999 season, 2000 playoff. During the playoffs, Rams beat the Vikings 49-37. Also, January 16th, 2023, if you remember the pain, if you remember the pain of the 2022 Chainsaw Massacre along the offensive line, the Rams released Jeremiah Colon, who started 3 games that 2022 season before going back and becoming a cop or firefighter. That was a pretty brutal year. All right, we got that stuff in. Let me see. I can take a couple more questions and then let you go. Okay, KJ Brazil, Dirty Bird Falcons. That was the Dan Reeves team in '98. Yeah, that was a boring Super Bowl. Falcons and Broncos. It was just they didn't have a shot. That was the one where was it Morton Anderson or Gary Anderson? Who was the guy hadn't missed a field goal all year, and then he missed that one with Dennis Green's Vikings that would have put the Vikings in the Super Bowl. And so we got Chris Chandler and Dan Reeves and all that. That was a boring. That was one. I watched that Super Bowl and I just thought Denver's winning, right? And we knew it from the get-go. It was like watching Clinton against Bob Dole in '96. It ain't happening, man. It was like watching Reagan against Mondale in '84. It ain't happening, right? It was like Obama against Romney in 2000. It ain't happening, right? You just know certain things aren't going to happen. And the Falcons weren't going to beat the Dirty Bird Falcons weren't going to beat the Denver Broncos in Super Bowl 33. All right, Morton Anderson, thank you, KJ Brazil. All right, guys, I'm going to let you go. It's been great. Thank you so much. Now, I'm asking for a little patience with me on Friday. I'm going to be working camp, and I'm going to try to get on early. I'm going to try to get on later. I'm going to do the show, but my background, exterior, all that stuff, it's going to look weird and stuff. If there's some weird disaster, I'm just letting you know in advance. It shouldn't be, but I'm working a winter camp with the Outsiders. I am the executive director of Outsiders Winter Camps, and we're doing a kids camp up in Arroyo Grande, right below Pismo. You can pray for us if you're a praying person. And but I'm going to do the show on my laptop. It's just going to look a little bit different and probably not run as smooth. I'm not going to have my soundboard, my lighting, the mic, or anything like that. So just giving you a heads up. So thanks, guys. KJ Brazil, you're awesome. Thank you. And Solis, thank you so much. Thanks, guys, for clicking on. Be sure to check out the books on Amazon. Just type in my name, and we appreciate your support. God bless. Take care, and we will see you on Friday. I will stay safe, KJ. Thank you.